All right, let's pray. Gracious Heavenly Father, thank you so much for schools. Thank you for your people and your churches. Thank you so much for students, and for adult students, and for youth, and so much for the children. And thanks for the example that we have in your word that Christ loves children. And would you bless us as we discuss today? And would you bless the words of my mouth and the meditations of my heart? I pray in Jesus' name, amen. All right. I love this subject. I've been thinking about it, not in preparation for today, for like 15 years or something. I love motivating students. I'm asking you just to listen and hear it out. I think it might be in a little different vein than you were thinking. Usually when you see motivating students, it means like you're going to go for the extrinsic motivation. So I'm going to sit here for 45 minutes and tell you different like carrots to hold in front of them, and that's going to motivate them. That is an important part of what we do, but I think typically that's it. It's like, okay, offer them cookies this one day, and then like 3 full days of recess. That's a bad idea. Anyways, if they can reach this goal, those things are important. But again, just hear me out, because I think that there's, well, I'm not going to say anything else. So, well, I am going to say something else, but not in that vein. All right, excuse me. I want to make the water noises. All right, so I teach at 2 different schools. My name is Jeff Swanson. I teach at Shalom Elementary, which is a K through 8 school. It's a community school. And I think we have like 26 different Mennonite Anabaptist charity brethren churches represented there. The school has about 180 students this year. And I teach music except for 1 hour of that time. I teach until lunchtime every day, till 11:15. And everything's music except for I have 1 7th grade Bible class. After lunch, I go next door to Terry Hill Mennonite, which is a different school. It's a 9th through 12th grade school, and all I teach there is music. And people are like, which do you like better, the children or the youth? And I'm like, it's like asking me to choose between my children and my own personal children. I'm like, I love the little ones. They're so funny and just free. And then I love the Terry Hill students. They're closer to being my friends. Actually, they kind of are. You just don't tell them that. And the discussions that we can have and the music things we can do are great. And at Terry Hill, that is all music. So in the kindergarten this year, we have 1 old order student. His name is Kevin, and he'd be horse and buggy Mennonite. We'd say Jowinger-like in our county. And only little guy. Everybody else is middle of the road Mennonites or whatever you want to call him. He wears his little suspenders. And so we were singing one day in the kindergarten music, and he is the life of the party guy. And so we're singing, God is so good. My voice is going today. And so I have a little vibrato in my voice. It helps free the sound up when I sing that. So I'm singing, God is so good. God is so good. And so I suddenly, you're always listening. I hope you do when you teach singing, if anything's going right, maybe wrong. And so I hear beside me this little, God is so good, God is so. I'm like, what is that? And here's this little Joe Winger guy. This little order, and he's like, God is so good, he's so. And there's this little girl beside him going. And so, he's got his little suspenders on. The only one in school that wears suspenders, and you have to wear a white shirt or a blue shirt to be and the guys in our school on the school code. And so on white shirt day he wears white suspenders, and on blue shirt day he wears blue suspenders. And so while he's doing this, he's like, God is so good. Pop, the suspender comes up, and he's so seamless that he's like, God is so good, God, and just wonderful. I love him. Life of the party guy. I have another student that I've had since the 5th, 6th grade. I actually met her on an Oasis tour. She was with her parents when she was a really little girl. And she was very argumentative throughout the junior high years. She loves to sing. I think she did everything I've ever said about singing and exaggerated a little bit to the point now, and she's had voice lessons with me, she sings in choir, and she almost always gets the solo. And she sits up there and sings. We sing lots of praise and harmony music, because it's what we do in our county. And we sing lots of choral music and Latin text music. She sits up there and just sings, ooh, la. And usually normal youth girls aren't that involved in it, especially not Anabaptist ones, and she's so free, and it sounds gorgeous. That just makes me so happy to have her advancing like that, and you just love singing. I had these twins once. They were guy twins. They were kind of beasts. They were like these muscle guys, and they were like 5-year-old twins. They were big 17, 18-year-old guys. They were probably the 2 funniest guys I've ever had. One time, I got this from my children. We had snack machines in school. You're only allowed to use them when it is lunchtime or before or after school. You can't use them any other time. So one time, the principal was out there with one of the twins, and he's like, why are you getting candy during class time? Why are you out here doing this? And he goes, well, I put money in for 1 and 2 came out. And so the principal's like, okay, why are you getting candy during class time? You're not even supposed to be here. Oh, really? I put 1 money in there and 2 of these purple Skittles, honestly, from the muscle man, came out. And he's like, I get that, but you can't do this. And honestly, 2 Skittles, I mean, like he was going to fool him. So one time, I bought gummy bears for his class, all right, to give as a treat to his class. And so I started walking to the office, and one of the twins says, what are you doing? And I said, nothing. And he says, what are you doing? You have gummy bears, don't you? These are honestly like protein muscle guys, big. And I'm like, what? And he starts following me. He's like, I want some of those right now. And so the other twin comes behind him, so these Hulk guys, and he says, what does he have? And he's like, he has gummy bears. And they're like, please give us some right now. And so I'm like, I'm going to give them to your whole class. Can you please just wait? And they're like, we got to go. They were leaving school to go to work study or whatever. So he's like, we got to go to work study. Please just give them to us right now. And then the other one or whatever was like, you know what? Forget work study. We're staying for the gummy bears. It's not what men do. I mean, I guess it is. So another one. I've got this little girl named Reagan, and she is now in the 2nd grade. And she's a very proper Mennonite mother. And so we were having a school program. At the end of our school program, about 200 people with the teacher singing on stage. And it was the first time I ever gave them the shortened Songs of Faith and Praise Hallelujah chorus. It's like 3 pages. It's really nice to use. If you want to do the whole thing. And so I look, and she's going, hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. And at the end she goes, hallelujah. And her mother was just beside herself. She's like, I can't believe she did that. I can't believe she did that. And she's like, I sent her to one of our friends' house before the program, and they gave her pop to drink, and I can't believe she did that. So I'm just tickled at this little girl singing like this. So I have a friend from music camp, and his name is and was Isaiah, and you can see him on the birthday videos. Anyways, and he's so funny. I like funny people, but when guys get older and they mature but are still funny, I just love it. So he dressed a mannequin at music camp, a lady mannequin. He put a wig on it. I think it had some covering or veil or something on it, a dress, and put it in the guys' bathroom. And so every time we went into the guys' bathroom, it was a woman. And so you'd come back 2 hours later to use the bathroom, and he'd be like, it's a woman. So for 2 days, you could never prepare yourself for the woman that was standing in the bathroom waiting for you. And so honestly, the second day, it was like, every second day. I just thought he was funny, and he thought that was really funny. You should watch his videos. I have a student, and she is a Weaverland Conference. You know what that is? I guess some people call it black bumper. She had covering strings. They would still drive black cars. And since I met her when she was coming in the 7th grade, she's so well-spoken and appropriate. What a wonderful girl. And she had the most wonderful sense of humor. And so we were talking something about Bible projects, and it was a 12 Disciples projects. And so we said something about season's greetings from the 12 disciples. I don't know where it came from or why it was there. So we're in our little Mennonite school, and it's a 12 Disciples Bible project. They have to pick 4 disciples and big long list of stuff and what they learned, and we encourage them to do multimedia, well, not meaning technology, but like some of them will put little orange fish on there for what, or little gold coins, and things that you can touch. And so I said something about using that if anybody wanted to. So this proper girl, who's very funny, she's a senior now, and she is still so wonderful. She opens up her trifold poster, and there it is, Season's Greetings from the 12 Disciples. And that goes before the whole school, and I was like, that is so funny. I can't believe, you know how brave it is to do that when everybody else's project says the 12 Disciples. Anyways, and one more. So I've told some of you, you laugh at me all you want, but I love covering strings. I'm just saying, and you know why I like them? Is it because they're more spiritual? It's just art to me. You don't understand how some of the things about our culture, including our singing, are wonderful art, but because it's a tradition, we've always done it. Like, I don't like those. And so that's just a known fact. And so I have a youth choir, and they're my students too. And so one day in youth choir, we're at Mid-Atlantic Church where nobody wears them because you don't have to. You just wear them anyways. And so, so I go in and I know these girls pretty well, and I'm like, she has covering strings on. Because she has a conviction. And I'm like, she has covering strings on too today. And there's a third one, and I'm like, I was like, okay, you're playing the trick on me. And so the girls all went and bought the string or ribbon or whatever it is, and I went to the bathroom and pinned covering strings on their head to make me happy during youth choir. It worked. And so, hysterically. Why am I telling you this? Because I think, besides love for music, all right, I love my students so much. I really do. I love the little ones. I love the high schoolers. I love the youth choir. I love adult students that I teach. And why am I going and taking this much time to tell you? I think if you would love your students, and I think most of you do, and if you would show it, I think 60% of the motivation battle, I really do think, is won. And I think some of you are thinking, well, tell us what to do to motivate them. So just think about it. Children love their parents, and they know their parents love them, even if their parents have some shortcomings or bad tempers. When there's a love relationship, you just want to please your parents. People want to please their parents if they were abusive. 20 years later, it's just the way we're wired. There's love relationships, and I think something that we overlook sometimes are those relationships. You'll never have to tell your students they're your friends until they graduate. I probably wouldn't. They're my friends. A lot of 6-year-old friends, you know what? And I'll stand by that. But we don't treat them exactly like that. So, motivating the students. If you ask a child about their new teacher, what's the first thing they say? It's one of two things. Almost always. Just say it.
He's nice.
He's nice. She's nice. They're mean. You know, and that might sound silly and trite, but it's huge. That's the way they think. This person is nice or mean. If you're nice, the student's already motivated to please you. And I realize nobody wants to be mean, and I also don't think you should actively have them think that you're cool. Not cool. I think that we should try as hard as we can to be nice. I have one discipline policy in my choirs at Shalom. We have a lot of students there, and the only policy I have is you may not talk in music class. If you talk in music class without raising your hand and getting called on, you just have to go back to your homeroom and miss the rest of the music class. I mean, we're talking a handful or a little more times a year that I have to ask them to go back. And I never say, get out of here. What do you think you're talking? I go up to little girls, and before I get there, they just talk. They go, whoa. And I haven't said anything yet. And I said, I'm so sorry. I'm not mad at you. You broke the rule. And then walk out, same thing with the guys. The guys don't cry, but I'll say, am I mad at you? And the guys will say, no. I said, do I still like you? And the guys will say, yeah. And they said, I messed up, so I just have to go back. That's what it takes. I was very strict, wasn't I? I was really strict, but I love them, and I think that they know that. And oftentimes I'll go back to their class and find them and say, do you realize that you just broke the rule? Being nice is so huge. That's not going to fix every academic and every learning disability, okay? But it's bigger than you think. If they're scared, it's going to be hard. You know, truth and grace, it's like I said, I have specific rules. Specific rule in the classroom management works really well, and I just don't have to get mad at them. Shit, anyways, really. All right. Along with that, if you have a class where you can greet the students as they go between classes in the morning, I'd stand at your front, I'd stand at your door and wave to every student and the little brothers and sisters that are going to be in school in 2 years. Win their hearts then. Say, hi, good morning, good morning, good morning. Students don't like to talk to their teachers in the morning. Have you ever noticed that? It's a weird thing, and they will in the afternoon. So just say hi to them as they go by. Have a good day. Hey, sometimes, I can tell you, there are a lot of students in high school who just don't like to talk in the morning more than normal. The younger students, I just be like, what's up? Hey, what's up? What's up? Hey, 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 what's up? And say hi to them all. They know you're saying hey to everybody, but it feels good. It just does. You know, I acknowledge them. And if there's a little something else you can say, do it. Stand between classes whenever you can and show them that you love them and that you're nice. All right? Again, this was talked about yesterday evening, the whole complimenting thing. I get why we don't, but I disregard it. If you can say nice, honest things, it's bad to flatter, it's bad to lie to people. It makes their days. At Shalom, the girls have to wear blue or khaki dresses. The guys have to wear khaki pants and a blue or white shirt. All I can compliment on is their hair and their shoes. And I do it. I hope I'm not making a materialistic or whatever. I love two braids almost as much as covering strings. And if they have two braids, I say, that is nice hair. Do you know how many little girls go home and say, would you please let me have two braids today? Wow. And they'll come up and go, and I say, yeah, you got the hair. Little guys have these little shoes with lights on them or Velcro or sometimes. All you have to do is say, and you can just sit there. And again, you may disagree with me and say I'm making materialistic. I don't know. But it's blessing them. They just had a nice blessing. I've got one girl, and she was from a very old order group of Mennonites. They would still farm with horses. They're called pikers or 35ers, I'm not sure which one. Well, they're not there anymore, and her mom puts her hair in a lady bun like this on top of her head every single day, except for the days when she has two of them like that. And it's one of the cutest things I've ever seen. And so, do you know what I mean? Like a bun like that, but it's here. And I say, yeah, right there. Anyways, think of something nice to say. If they've done anything well in school, just remember and said, I saw you do that. I saw you at chapel. You had that part. Sometimes just hoping somebody will reach out. This is motivating, right? You think that they're really going to want to spite you or not try a little harder? And part of my job is getting people to sing that don't necessarily want to sing. And to God be the glory if there's any success, honestly. They would rather sing for somebody that they think cares about them or for somebody that cares about them. Does that make sense? All right, so next one, that could be nice. Know your stuff. Have you ever been compelled, you know what I mean, just drawn to a person that was so good at what they did, even if you didn't really care about it? I don't really care that much about basketball in our county. They probably talk about it too much, but y'all remember Michael Jordan? He was so awesome at basketball. There was nobody that was anything like him. It was just interesting if you could ever just see one clip of him or just see what he did, even if you hated basketball. It's so compelling. I remember this one girl at Cherry Hill. I support their sports because that's motivating to them. And she would never pass or set like this. She could bump and pass the ball straight up every time with an actual pass. I just thought it was awesome. She never had to go like that. It would come down and she'd go, and it would just land straight up. And it was just perfect. I just thought that was awesome. I've got about 4 guys on our basketball team that can dunk. That's pretty awesome. I can't touch the net. I'm just saying. So you're not thinking I'm going to be like, yeah, you dunk. I don't want to encourage the sports thing too much. I think a lot of them in our county, they play sports till they're seniors and then they get over it. And so, you know what? Bless them for it. So anyways, they're good at that. And so I think we should be good at our stuff. There's just something about somebody who really, really knows what they're doing that the students are going to be drawn to. They know if you just studied that the morning before and you're shaking, you're kind of just reading what's in the book. I've been there. We've all been there. But I think it's compelling when you're so far above them, at least in one subject, that's your specialty, that they're just like, this is just awesome. It's really neat. He really, really knows his stuff. So just think about it. Multi-grade teachers, multi-class teachers, multi-subject. I know it's hard, but do the best you can. Most of them think, sometimes you can watch a whole lesson in the 3rd grade and go, it's just awesome. I didn't even know that you did that. So I would never let that get you far down. So I had a band director in the 9th and 10th grade. I was in public school when I played an instrument, and I loved him so much. And he wasn't all that nice, but he was so good at music that, it compelled me. I remember in the public school, they would bring like famous people to school, not like super famous, but like famous in their subject area. And they brought this guy that played the French horn. His name was Philip Farkas. And the French horn's like a Christmas tree one, you know what I'm talking about? It's like a hunting horn. I'm losing y'all there. Anyways, and so he was so good. Just think about it. You're bored right now with that. He was so good at what he did that, just like, it's absolutely amazing. And then there's this other really old guy. Anyways, he was like 80 years old. Probably like my age. Anyways, and he was a mathematician, and they thought I was smart at math at that point. They didn't know that I just tried really hard, and it was really hard for me, and that I wouldn't last that long anyways. And he just talked about math, and advanced math, and advanced math, and it was just like, this is awesome. I mean, it was really motivating just because he was so good, even if you could care less. If you're good at what you do, and first and second grade teachers, let's be real, you're really good at what you do. You got the math in the English, all right? So, I mean, you have them there. Seriously, I mean that. So you're doing great on that. And I don't want you to ever think that means that you have to go to college. I went to 6 years of college. I have my master's, so I'm probably not the right person to talk. But if you ever really want to go to college, please call me and say, Jeff, you don't owe me anything. I'm going to college, and then I'm going to say why, and then you're going to go, don't anymore? That's what I say. And I'm like, anything else? And they're like, no. So I would not encourage you to ever go to college unless you have a plan. I'm just saying as a side point. It can change your mindset and make you start changing churches rapidly. All right? We need educated people in our churches, I think. I think we need people to do it, but I would just be very careful and make sure you're in league with your parents and that you're in league with God and the church as you go on. So I don't want you to think that when I'm saying that means go to college. All right? There are lots of opportunities around here for people anywhere in the Mennonite community where you can learn more without just going away. All right. Be organized and prepared. Students get frustrated when you don't know where you are. I lose my stuff all the time. As I teach you to say that. Be organized and prepared, and that's going to make you look really smart. It's going to be motivated to learn from you. And if you make a mistake and they point it out to you, you just go, shut your mouth, I know what I'm doing. Just kidding. Go, oh, that was dumb. I messed up. And then they're like, oh yeah, you messed up. Some teachers, it takes them so much and they get mad or they're just like, oh, I can't believe I did that. Just laugh at it. If you know your stuff, I sing wrong notes all the time. I sing all day long sometimes, and sometimes bad things come out. And just laugh. They know that you know what you're doing, and so don't worry about that. Okay, number 3. See the little Einstein guy? All right, be passionate. I want you to be passionate and have stories like I do about your students, how much you love them and how great they are. You do have those students. You just forget to write them down. That's the truth. All right? In your subject matter. I've loved music. I hope it was God's blessing. I think it is. I've loved music since I was like 9 or 8. It just moves my soul. I love music, and I love to teach it, and I love my students. That's going to compel your students to be motivated to do whatever if there's passion for what you're doing. So that means a lot of y'all who don't teach just music all day, you're going to have to love school. I loved my freshman year of high school. I loved my senior year. I still dream that I'm back in my senior year of high school in band, my little instrument. I love it so much. And you know what? I don't always see that in Mennonite schools. I love the senior year. I didn't want it to end. I didn't have any senioritis. This was great. I don't think I did. Y'all need to love school and to talk about how great it is. And please don't put a countdown around your room of how many days are left of school. Oh, we got 50 days left. 10 days. Well, this awful experience is going to be over. It'll be summertime. Y'all are like, I do that. Yeah, I know. It should be like 5 days so we're not going to be together anymore. Whang! Do you not go after Christmas break, after like 4 days, you're away from them, you're like, I really miss these people. Seeing the students at Osceola, I'm like, I either want to teach the students at Osceola or go back as soon as I can and see my kids again. Yeah? You just grab for break. Okay. You need to learn to fake it. Be passionate about school and be passionate about your subjects as much as you can. I love teaching music, and there's a great, it's not a sin, but a great folly that music teachers have, is that we know that if you're going to have one program for a group or for your school, you should have 16 songs. It's just the normal, it's what Oasis does, it's what Ryan probably does here, it's just you do 16 songs. And so what we usually do is get like 3 great songs that we think are great, and then 13 other songs. And then you're like, don't y'all like this music? Why don't you get it memorized? Why don't you sing louder? And they're just thinking, because you hate it too. Seriously. And so it's a mission of mine to pick, and I have the elementary students, I have 2 choirs in the high school, I have a youth choir that I do, and some other groups, and I'm determined to pick 16 A-sides for those. You know what I mean by A-sides? The good side of the record, all right? Of songs that are hits and that I love, and if I love them, usually they will, even if it's in Latin. Even the coolest dunking basketball guys in school. If I love a Latin piece and it's weird, and it talks about the Northern Lights with a text from Song of Solomon, which we're singing, you know what? Those basketball guys, well, I'll tell you about that in a minute, actually. We'll get there. That's kind of weird. Your own notes. So, I had a teacher in college, and he would tell us over and over in college. We were college men. We knew we weren't professionals. We probably would never get a job in music. And we'd start off and he'd say, y'all are professionals. This is going to be great because y'all are professionals. I didn't really think he thought that. I thought he was trying to motivate us. It was so nice that he said that for 2 years. I think we just kind of believed. He really does think we're pretty good. Do you tell your students that? When you're doing these things, I think sometimes we're like, it's a negative thing. You've got to pull them out of it. Well, keep moving positive. And when something goes well, you need to say, this is great. And so I use that. We have a large school chorus at Terry Hill. All 94 students, 2 times a week, sing together. It can be an ADD distracted situation, especially when it's the last class on Friday. I love it. They sing well. I like that big chorus if it's loud. And so I tell them, this is Friday, and I mean this isn't a lie. You shouldn't do it if it's not true. There are other ways to get it across without making it like that you're saying. Anyways, and so I was like, I love Friday chorus because I do. This is a great thing to do. We get to sing together, and school's out, and it's a weekend. I had 2 moms, I think, say, my boy, they were both boys, loves Friday chorus, and he loves chorus, and he thinks it's so fun. I'm not sure if he said chorus or Friday. So they hear your excitement and your motivation, and it does work. It does snowball. And it sometimes takes years. So if you're going to teach 1 year, you don't get to see the results of doing these things year after year. All right. All right, we saved that one. Connection. I think sometimes we have a big disconnect about what we think is important in school and what they think is important at home. Okay? So, in school we think singing is important, right? Right. And we think math's important, especially if you're passionate about it. The Bible's important, especially if you're passionate about it, like a first-generation Anabaptist 500 years ago, okay? English is important, and we'll get to that one. And so, now over here, we have hunting, all right? We have, if you're in Lancaster County, volleyball and basketball. If you're here, softball, okay? And different powered vehicles with 4 and 2 wheels that they really aren't able to drive and they wreck a lot. Anyways, and so that's important to them. So I think it's like, and yeah, and woo. So you know what? I do like sports and I used to play them. Music and sports really aren't that far disassociated. When you tell guys that at first, they're just thinking, you know, my teacher's always kind of wimpy about singing, and is it kind of a feminine thing or whatever? And I'm like, no, just sing the song. And I want you to sing it perfect, and you're going to stare at me the whole time. You're going to keep your hands by your sides and not move them, and we're going to sing it in tune. It's going to be awesome. They start believing it after a while. Okay? You didn't have to motivate them. You don't have to say we're going to have a pizza party. We have very few pizza parties in our class, our music classes at the high school, and you say, you know what? It's the same thing as sports. The intensity is both there. You know how you want to win and you want to dunk that thing? I want you to sing awesome. And if you have a bad night, I want you to get up there on those risers and smile at the audience, and we're going to pray, and I want you to be awesome. And they're thinking, oh, no, it's not that disassociated, and it can take a while. So I think we forget to tie the things that are important to us to the things that are important to them. Does that make sense? And so whatever your subject is, make it awesome and be passionate about it. Sometimes I'm going, and we're like, softball, softball. You're like, what? All right? I think it should be like, do, re, mi, fa, so. Sing like that, guys. And then, do you see what I'm saying? We need to be passionate about everything that we believe in. The Bible too. All right, the Bible too. All right. And you know who did a really good job at that? Jesus Christ. Okay? Theology, and agriculture. Obviously, that's important to him. The most important lessons in life and eternity, and farm boys. Was it not always there? I didn't even connect them. I mean, they were in there together so often. That's great teaching. But heaven or hell, all right? And sowing seeds. It's just awesome. We did it. So why don't we? All right. All right, here is such an important one. Show them that you're there for them. And again, I don't mean this in a touchy-feely way. I'm not really on the camp of trying to be youth counselors. I think when all of us were like 30, we thought that that's what our goal was to be a youth counselor to our students. I'm not there. I think we should be adults. You'd be surprised, y'all that are in your 20s. They think a 30-year-old and me are not that distant. Do you remember how you thought of adults? There was a point where you were like 19, well, sorry, some of you are like, no, I'm like 27. I could get what you're saying, but I thought my teacher that was 27 was the same as my 40-year-old parents. They're just adults. We need to be mentors and parents to them and show them that we care. So how do we do this? When it's appropriate, if they're having a bad day, can you not say, hey, how's it going? They're going to say, fine. Can you just say, if it's appropriate, especially if it's a guy to guy or a girl to girl, oh God, you're having a bad day. Are you really okay? And they're probably not going to open up to you. And again, I'm not encouraging this one-on-one thing, counseling all the time. I have some thoughts about that. But that's way more than just saying, and they'll be like, I'm fine. And you know they're not, but you kind of set it up for that. How's it going? Are you okay? I do care. I'm just checking. They'll probably say the same thing, I'm okay, but they just heard. You kind of really were interested. It wasn't just agreeing. All right? And the youth, what a trauma. What a dramatic trauma being in high school or middle school. You just want something. Do you see the motivation going here? I think some of you still want to know what kind of parties to do. Safety, you need to keep your students safe, and it's usually not the cool ones. It's the quiet introverts. It's the ones whose views are a little different. It's the one who's a little bit more conservative than the rest, okay? It's the ones whose parents' worldviews on the mask mandates are different than the rest of the school. You know, they laugh, but it can be really sad. It's just what the parents told them, you know? We have to watch out for them. There's a point where you have to take some outspoken boy and say in private, you can never talk to her that way again in class as long as you're with me. Do you understand that? Never. If you do, your life is going to change. And I mean that. I don't mean that sarcastically. Which that means you're going to be put out of class, at least for a time. You have to do that. It doesn't happen often, but you cannot let people be made to feel bad. They have to know that you care and that you will take care of them. I mean, it just has to be done. Keep them safe. If they're struggling in school, I think there's a time to teach them things in different ways, okay? And then teach them audio and the kinesthetic thing. We're going to talk about that in a minute. I know a lot of you heard about this morning. But there's a point where you're like, you know what? This is hard for you. Let's figure out a plan that we can work through and that you're going to be okay with. Every one of your students, including the worst learning disabled ones, can succeed. You just have to make sure that you give them a curriculum adjustment that they can handle to succeed. Does that make sense? You're seriously ADD, easily distracted, and learning disabled. Go do your algebra 2. Now you motivate that. You know what I'm saying? So you just step back and think of a personal plan. Me and you are going to work through this together. My wife has done that for years without, and there are witnesses in here, without lunch breaks, without breaks, and very limited time going to the bathroom. My wife sits with people. You know what? That motivates them more than you could ever imagine. I have no idea what that means. Something like it when you write notes. See, I gave you the outline that I have, but then I write extra stuff in it because it starts coming so quickly the day before. And, I know. You know how, one question I get about music is this, is that how do you get middle school boys to sing? Why won't they sing? And you know what? 80–90% of us always say, too cool. They're too cool and they think they're cooler than you and they look like it and they're bigger than a lot of you women, okay? So one of our schools that feeds into Cherry Hill, they had some issues with this. So I had him in the 9th grade theory class. And so I just like to talk to him, and it shows that you care, which motivates them. And I said, can y'all tell me what's so hard about singing? It frustrates teachers when y'all don't sing in the 7th and 8th grade. Once they get to high school in 9th grade, they're a little shy. 10th grade, well, most of them start singing. And so they were like, raise their hand. We're really afraid we're just going to mess up and look stupid. Do you believe that from a teenager? Yeah. Do they look like they're cooler than you? Yep. But that's not the reason they won't sing. Another one was like, this is a dub. They're afraid their voice is going to crack. You know how miserable that is to a guy? Our voice is changing. Our teacher made us all the boys sing alto. It's a little humiliating. They should sing it occasionally, but it's a little humiliating. Even if it's the only part your voice can sing, I let my guys sing tenor. All of them. They can get down there. So, I'm just sitting here, and I mean, these guys, this hair is short on the sides and long on the top, and they look cool. And I'm just sitting there in class, I'm like, oh, I can't believe I'm saying this. I didn't cry in front of them, but I'm like, wow, I can't ever say all this. They're just awkward little guys that mask it by looking like they're really tough. Their hearts are there for us. We just really have to reach them. And you know what? I would say more than 90% of the guys that are in the high school, sophomores, 11th and 12th graders, they sing. It's inspiring. All right. Look for ways to do that I haven't said. And please protect the people that aren't cool or popular. It feels very good to a teacher to befriend the leaders of the class, the coolest ones, the most liberal ones. You know what I mean, the ones that are popular. If you want to win the heart of a school, find the weirdos, all right? The quiet ones, the nerdy ones, the brilliant introverts that just never talk. I had this one student, she was hysterical, and she would just go like this all day. She just didn't talk a lot. And so I told her mom once, I said, I'm kind of an introvert too. I said, I teach and I act. When I teach and put all my extrovert in there, and then when school's over, I just shrink into an introvert, because it's the truth. And so she was taking a driver's ed test, and so she was driving the car, and she finished, and the guy said, you failed, and she went, he was like, you failed. And she was like, and so he told her mom, who's really hysterical, and he said, she failed and she didn't even do anything, and mom was like, yeah, that's what she does. It's okay, right? We need to reach out to her. She's fine. That's just like her resting face or whatever they say. So you look for those people. Reach them in their learning style. Y'all heard about this today. If somebody needs to see something for it to make sense, you can't just read to them and read to them and read to them and read to them. I had a student once, he actually died in the last 2 months. It was very sad. He was in the school where you had the books all day and little to no actual classroom teaching, and he couldn't do any of it. And his dad said, you know what, my son's not stupid. He's a farm boy, and we do cattle, and I think, man, 100 cattle. I mean, he said he has the cattle and their ear tag memorized for every single one of them. That's not a bad person, all right? He just wasn't in his learning style. I love that guy. He would draw sheep and weird things on his thing. He was brilliant. If they're auditory, sing and let them hear it. We have to reach them, because if you reach them on their learning style, they're going to be like, okay, I get it. And they're motivated. Kinesthetic, how many Mennonite people are going to end up being farmers or in construction? One of those two things. Like everybody but us? Yeah. Okay? So how on earth can we go teach a bunch of people that are going to be farmers and work with their hands and not use kinesthetic things? And we really expect them to be happy in school. They're staring out the window at the tractors, and we're like, listen to this, look at this. You can teach every subject with your hands. Watch your students. If I accidentally teach kindergartners, first and second graders songs, and I start moving my hands, they're like, you don't even have to tell them. High schoolers, yeah, maybe, and other ones, but this bred into them. That's the way we're made. You know what I'm saying? God's made us move our hands. If I'm like, I can't remember a song, anyways, I don't think that song. find their learning styles, work with them on this so that they can feel in their game and they can do it. All right. Here's my favorite image. You ready? That guy. We are all little kooky. He's got those little legs in that like shirt. Okay, so now listen, we're all a little kooky. What do I mean by this? If you have an ADD student, are none of you ADD a little bit? Until I am. Here's something terribly fascinating to me. We have ADD students and we have easily distracted students. And you're right now thinking, yeah, it's the same thing. We have a lady that comes in, she's actually a fairly liberal Mennonite from the community, and she's actually from the state, and I think they assigned her to work with our LD students. And she's brilliant. And she said, we don't get that an ADD person has trouble focusing. Okay, we do get that. Okay? You hear me? ADD person can't focus. An easily distracted person, this is awesome, focuses on everything that's going on in the room. You just click your pen. All right, you just nodded your head. You're smiling at me. All right, she's rocking a baby right there. That's where I'm at. And so it's just interesting as we work with them. You hear me? That's awesome. ADD can't focus on anything. Easily distracted person, we have to be careful because they see everybody that comes in the room, they saw the movie change, they heard that noise, they're also doing something themselves. You know what? That's you need to hire a secretary for your business. Somebody, it's a multitasker. Somebody that can do 20 things at once. All right? People that have anxieties, I kid you not. I have a student that was talking to it, she's a friend of the family, and she was talking about her anxieties. I think we tend to look on people that get over it and grow up and be tough. I hate going to the bank. I hate it. I hate the little deposit slip. I hate waiting there. I hate having to give them my number. I know that's really dumb. I have bank anxiety. No, I'm not kidding. Why am I telling you that? Because our students have weird little anxieties. We need to come beside them and be like, I don't like to go into the bank. And I don't like to call people for business calls on the phone. I asked my wife to do that. And when I was little, my pimp friends would be like, oh, Jeff, you want to come spend the night tonight? And I hate spending the night parties because I think they make me like anxious. And so I'm like, let me ask my mom. And I'd be like, Mom, is it okay if I spend the night with such and such? And I goes, and she's like, no, you're not allowed. I'm like, oh, my mom said I'm not allowed, sorry. And so I'm saying, you tell them some of your weaknesses and work with their anxieties because they're real. I don't want to feel weird in the bank. I mean, I do it. But does that make sense? Walk alongside of them. We are all a little kooky. I know about it all. Okay? And so they don't need to think. So I've got one guy that's easily distracted, and I actually disciplined him a little bit hard last year. He was coming on to me in front of the class, and I thought, well, I have to address this in the class. I felt horrible. His mom said he was doing bad, but I hurt his feelings. And he's in high school now. I just felt horrible. I never want to have that happen again. So I kind of got where he was at finally. I mean, I had him for 5 years since he was little. And so in chorus, he has a hard time. 100 people, whatever, 94 people. And so one day I put 5 pieces of paper in his binder and a pencil. And I said, what's his name? I said, you know what? You're me. So I'm going to teach you how to deal with things like me. I put 5 pieces of white paper and a pencil in your choir binder. I said, when you get distracted, try not to involve anybody else and just draw. It's okay. That's what I do in adult meetings. Adult boards, they figure out what their decisions are in the first 30 minutes, and they talk about it for 3 weeks. Y'all don't think that's funny, but it's true. So you have to doodle for 3 weeks. All right, you know what? He smiled. I really haven't had another problem. Okay. Couple of things about what you want to hear in our last couple of minutes. If you need to motivate them extrinsically, group goals. We're not going to have a pizza party until every single person can do it and get an A. Music flashcards. We're going to go around the circle, and we're not going to have a pizza party, or we're not going to go to this next level until we can go through the cards 2 times in under 40 seconds. That means every person's got to carry their own weight, and nobody wants to be the one. It's like C, A, B. I don't let them do that many choices once they do 2 wrong. Group goals are awesome. I'll let you out of choir on Fridays 5 minutes early if nobody even peeps and says a word. Well, you know, Timmy talked, so we're all going to have to stay. Timmy and nobody else ever wants to be that person that just kept everybody until the bell was supposed to ring anyways. Does that make sense? Group goals are great. So we have 3 types of motivation. Intrinsic means you're just going to do it. You are an achiever person. The second is extrinsic. That means give me stuff. Hang a golden carrot in front of them and they'll do it. And so I've used pizza parties. I've used just parties, special games. There are all kinds of things. And again, I think that's just the tip of the iceberg, or the icing on the cake, whatever you want to call it. What I want you to do is care about your students. I have a student who's also the one that has trouble focusing, and I had a conversation with the lady that's in special ed at our school, and he said, I just want to tell you something. This student says that your wife is the very best diagrammer in the whole world. She can teach it to anybody, and she's absolutely amazing, and he adored my wife. He's really, really struggling in school. And you know what I saw is that her passion, and she cared about him a lot. She worked with that guy all the time. Carried through. He's in high school now, and she's not his teacher. Mrs. Swanson and him are at different schools. These things worked. She knew her stuff, and he said she's the best in the world. I think he's right. Anyways, he was able to diagram. It's hard, and he's not really the best student, and he says, this woman says that he raves and raves and raves about Mrs. Swanson. This isn't necessarily helping him with his other teachers, but when it was with Mrs. Swanson, he really wanted to do well. I had another student in diagramming that said, I don't care about school or diagramming, but Mrs. Swanson cares so much that I want to do well for her. You hear me? I don't care about school. I don't care about diagramming, but Mrs. Swanson cares so much about this thing that I just want to do well for her. So I just want y'all to put all these things together. In closing, show them that you are interested in their lives. You may only have to do this once or 2 times a year. I kid you not. Talk to them about what's important to them. I don't like to kill anything, including bugs. I hate killing things. I'm not saying, it's not really a biblical premise. I just don't like to kill things. So sometimes I might have to say to a student, you go hunting? And they're like, yeah. I shot one, and then we tracked it, and it ran away injured. And I'm just like, good. Good. I mean, and you know what I'm saying? We have basketball games, the basketball season. I try to go to all the guys. I try to go to 1 or 2 of the girls. They see you there, but they don't like to talk to teachers at games. They see you there. I've been doing that for years and years. I used to go to soccer games at the Baptist school. And they'd see me, and sometimes I'd be like, score a goal. And you're not supposed to focus on the crowd. And my student one time went, I'm trying, Mr. Swanson, I'm trying. And so the twins, I might have heard the story. I've told you about the twins. But one time I said, good job, you're my boy. And he went, yeah, Mr. Swanson in the game. You're not supposed to do that. They know you're there. If you have a singer or a piano player, go to their recitals. They will find you. Okay? That speaks volumes, and they're probably never going to say, thank you for coming to my program. Okay? If they do art, you find their art. If they're in anything at school, if they're involved in ag, then you go see what they're doing and you bless them. That goes way down in here. Talk about cars. Even if that is weird to you, just kind of me and hunting. I like your truck with the 37-inch tires that won't pass inspection because they're so wide. But you know what I'm saying? Just say, it's a fine-looking truck. Did you do the lift yourself? Is it a body lift or a suspension? And then just go away, okay? They're hearing the teacher's interested. Hunting, cooking. I have a student that loves books on audio. 500-page books on audio. I don't know if he ever sang a note in chorus. And he's still my friend, and he's graduated. Actually, I love talking about books on audio. He'd say, have you read this weird stuff? Invest in these people, and that's going to motivate them long-term way more than the pizza party. Love your students and show. I recommend that you bless your students, every single one of them, every week, at least once. I don't think you're going to make them proud, okay? All right, I'd love to talk to you about teaching. Thank you so much, and have a good day.